Hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's yours? How's your week been? I always start off talking so softly at the start of the stream, and by the end of it, I'm absolutely shouting. Hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? Hello Ish and hello Import Race. How you guys doing? How's things? How has everybody's week been? Mine has been busy. I've spent a lot of my week trying to fix my my backup NAS. If you didn't see the video, I built another NAS as an offsite backup for myself. So I have a copy of all of my data elsewhere, and I'm basically pre-filling that NAS. I'm pre-backing up everything so that when it comes to actually like giving it to my friend or setting up at his house, I have all of the data already on there. Yeah, it's been a bit of a faff to get that working. rsync turns out it's not quite as well. It is simple, but I didn't know how to do it, so it wasn't simple. But it's now working, and I've now transferred 6.68 terabytes of data from my QNAP NAS, and disk utility or DU still calculating how much I've transferred so far, but it's probably about 4 terabytes from my main production server NAS. Out of about 16 or so terabytes there, so still got a while to go, but that it only just started actually copying properly this morning, so yeah. Hello to Joe, hello to Alex, hello to Simon, and hello to Harry. How you guys doing? How's things? Hello sir, made me jump, had the stream on, was deathly quiet, then you came on. How you doing? Okay, mostly. I'm fine. I feel like I'm back to I feel like I'm constantly behind, and I'm struggling to feel like I'm ahead, basically. Like I don't have what I would consider free time. I have time that I'm not functioning, and time that I'm catching up with the stuff that I feel I should have been doing. So yeah. Hello Ish, how you doing? How's things? What software do you use for your QNAP NAS? As in what software runs in the QNAP NAS, or what software I'm using to back it up? Because the former is just whatever QNAP, QTS, or whatever it's called. What I'm using to back it up is also rsync, but through the Hybrid Backup Station 3, or whatever app it is. Yeah, it's just rsyncing. So the TrueNAS offsite system is running an rsync server, and the QNAP NAS is connecting to that server port 873, and the way that works is quite nice. I was talking to Wendell about it actually, and basically the local server can generate a file list of what's already on the NAS and its sort of condition, and then it can send that over to the source system, and then the source system can do its comparisons locally, and then it just sends updated bytes, which is quite nice. Oh, hello John, no worries, enjoy. But yeah, so it's pretty decent. To run QNAP, I got a second-hand one, need software for it. It should have its own, QNAP have their own, it's basically just Linux, but it's customized Linux with a web server, so when you go to port 8080, it gives you a web login, and then you can do all the management stuff there, so I'm just using the standard operating system for it. Which I think is called QTS, but it is just Linux. I missed last week's stream as I was at an Elton John concert with my sister. Nice! How is that? Hello, Budget Man. How you doing, man? How's things? Is time not functioning equals sleep? No, time not functioning is I have zero executive function and can't do anything of use. Sleep's not included in that. If anyone has insomnia, play Valhalla because it's so boring you'll be put to sleep in seconds. Nice. I was just looking at a new gaming chair, looking at the Noble Hero, black and white as I see you're sitting in one. Are they good and comfy, Andy? From Overclockers. Yes, this is the... God, this is the Hero TX, the fabric one, which I like quite a lot. I do personally prefer fabric to the faux leather. I do have a faux leather Hero over there, and it's perfectly fine. I just... the texture of it doesn't play well with my autism. It gets sticky and like cold when you don't want it to be cold, and warm when you don't want it to be warm. Whereas fabric is quite a neutral feeling to me, so I prefer fabric where I can. So yeah, it's really comfortable. It fits me well. It's the right sort of build for me basically, and it is, it's lasted well. It is, like I said, plenty comfortable, and my brain's gone blank. But yes, I would recommend it. I have a DX Racer at the moment. Had it for at least 8 years. Damn, nice. Yeah, that should be a decent upgrade. It was pretty awesome, to be fair. Took my dad's place. He's been waiting 3 years for it, and then obviously passed away. It was awesome, but bittersweet at the same time. Understandable. Glad you had a good time, and our condolences again. Saw that bit. What do you use to back up your rig? Went to the App Store, as there are heaps of options. So it's the hybrid backup station 3 or whatever it's called. It's a stock. It's not, I don't think it comes pre-installed, or maybe it does, I can't remember. But it HBS 3 hybrid backup sync. It's one of QNAP's own applications. And it's a one-way sync job. So you go to that and then you go to sync whenever it loads, which, why is it taking so long? I have 10 warnings. Why? Oh, it's fine. It just failed to do the thing because the system died. Yeah. You just go to the sync and then set up a new one-way sync job. Set a remote rsync server, and then away it goes, basically. Does anyone use lumbar support lower back pillows? How about the back of the head pillow? Back of the head pillow, yes. That's very comfy for me. Lumbar support, no. Although I think I have a disfigured spine at my lower, so nah. Although one of the nice things about these is that they do have adjustment built into the backrest. How far away do I have to go to show this? Oh, it's too far away. I can't be bothered. It has a knob that gives you better lumbar support. And I'm sitting too high. Too low. Just right. Ow. I have the lumbar right at the bottom of the back. Fair play. I use the head one, but not the back one. Wasn't sure if I'm chairing wrong. No. Well, it's a personal preference. So yeah. But my lower spine curves too much for my... It's not right. I'm seeing a physio at some point. I prefer the pillow to the back of the head than behind my back. Yes, I would agree. Although Noble Chairs comes with both. It comes with a head pillow and a lumbar pillow, as well as the Frankie support. Hey, your nanoliths are working again. You got a controller for it sorted at last. Yes and no. I mean, so yes, I do. They are working now. But that's the third controller I've had for them, because the original controller was part of well, it failed, and then I found out that they had a recall program where you can basically get a replacement controller for free because they designed the first one to fail, or they uh, they found out that the batch that I had initially had a flaw in it that caused it to fail after so many turn-on cycles. And then the next one that I got failed after so many turn-on cycles. I'm looking forward to seeing how long this one lasts. And then probably knowing me engineering a better solution than that, because, you know. I do have, I don't know if I can reach it with the monitor down. Oh no, I can get there. Let's see if I can get all the pieces of it. So this is the old controller. This is the controller 2. 3's already on there, and 1 I think I threw in the bin. But since this is already dead, I decided to take it apart to try and work out what was actually wrong with the damn thing. So the 3 gold pads in the middle there are the pads from the board. The one under my middle finger, ring finger. This bit is the microcontroller. In fact, I can take it out of the. So there's actually 3 different PCBs here. There's the capacitive buttons on the front with some LEDs, and then a power regulation board, and then the microcontroller. The actual microcontroller is, I think, one of the ones under there. I kind of would like to desolder it, but the pins are so tiny I'd probably just break it. But yeah, it'd be quite nice to take it apart and have a look at it. But yeah, there's sort of 3 parts to it, and one of these parts is broken, and I'm not sure which, but yeah. Would be interesting to see them. Jim, hello. I'm afraid that I do not follow basically any sports, so I don't know if you're talking about football or rugby or cricket. I don't know. I can tell you about the F1. But I'll play along and say I'm proud of my countrymen. Hot air gun should get it off mixed with new solder. Yes. But at some point. Be a cool project to do and some downtime. That's the thing you get very little of to find out what's wrong with it. Yeah, pretty much. Actually, speaking of no downtime, I made another tool. So this is you can't see the text because this is a 3D print from my own 3D printer just to test out the tolerances and things. I don't know if it's gonna show up very well. That's not an R in the middle, it's an L. Because this is no, not the face, not the face. The open source latency testing tool. So there'll be a little lens there for the LED. That's a 2-pin input. Big button. Single photodiode. USB-C! And audio input. So this is very much like, you know, if you wanted to copy this probably won't work, so don't. But yeah, I've refined my designs quite a lot. So this is a single-sided board, which I'm quite happy about. And I've just I'm using a reverse mount photodiode so that it's mounted on the other side and there's just a hole through the board. Those are some test pins so I can stick my oscilloscope to this and test it. This microcontroller is quite cool. It's the same family as the microcontroller that I've been using on OS RTT, but it's the one lower down because I don't need as much. Comes on this little board that I can surface mount solder. So if I want to take this off, you just heat both sides with the heat gun and pull it off, and it's great. And it also comes with a fucking USB-C port finally. But yeah. And yeah, basically the idea is that this is a sort of companion project to the response time tool because a lot of people have been asking for it. It's a lot closer to one of these than the response time tool is. The response time tool is very much a tool for testing monitors. It can test latency. In fact, it tests latency better than LDAT if I'm being bashful. And obviously it tests response times very well. But it's very much a monitor reviewer's tool, because that's what I am. But what I've learned is that people really want to be able to test latency, like specifically latency, and for a lot of different things. Like, so the obvious one is things like testing mice and keyboards. So the reason that there's an audio port is so that you can attach a microphone, stick a microphone next to your finger, and then when you click, obviously it makes a nice loud sound, and that click is what then triggers the tool to then start recording, and then something happens on screen. And actually, I've worked out that I'm quite proud of this. So the thing with latency, especially like testing latency on a PC, is that it's really, really inaccurate. Because if you think about, you want to know how long this mouse takes for you to click and then have that click do something on screen, right? But depending on what screen you're using, depending on what system you're using that on, depending on how it's connected, how it's like what you're doing with that, like if you're in CSGO versus if you're in just a web browser, all of those things are going to take different amounts of time. They're all going to be the click to photon latency, but they're all like useless measurements. So since I already have a pretty good way of testing a monitor, like on display latency for monitors, what I can do is run that on display latency test to basically get a baseline for that monitor, that system, all that sort of stuff. And then when you come to do your latency testing on the mouse or keyboard or whatever, I can then take the results from that testing and subtract the baseline numbers so that you get just what the peripheral, how long the peripheral takes, rather than a arbitrary and useless total number. So yeah, that's one of the things that I've been doing. But then, like, one of the interesting things is that so a surgery company, like a doctor's surgery, bought a response time tool. Unfortunately, we had some trouble with customs and it was returned back to me, and I've literally 3 minutes before the stream refunded them for it. But when I asked them if they wanted me to ship it again or if they want a refund, I mentioned that I have a latency testing tool on the way and that might be of more use to them. And they were so excited because they were like, that's exactly what we want. Who else? Oh, I talked about this a little bit, but a movie studio, they're called Magnopus. I think is it like Sony? They're subsidiary of. Anyway, a big Hollywood movie studio bought a response time tool and then emailed me saying, hey, we want to do latency testing on our live screens. This can do that. And so, yeah, I'm excited to get this out into the world as well. It's probably still a couple months away, knowing me, because I need to actually make this work. Because while I have sorted it up, I only sorted it up a day ago. And then there's a few quirks to this specific microcontroller I got to sort out. And then I have to. I think I've mostly written the firmware for this, but then I'm gonna have a whole new software application, like a desktop app that will run it. Because while the OSRTT software is perfectly fine, and I'm gonna basically like copy and paste bits of code from that, I kind of want it to be a separate tool, separate project, and there's gonna be some more latency specific things that this will do, and I think having them all as one application is just going to confuse things and make it awful, so I need to write another desktop app as well. But once all of that is done, I'll have another tool. Yeah. But yeah, so Joe, how does that one work then? Still attach the monitor in the same way? Yes, it was. It still has holes for elastic to go through it and stick to your monitor. I haven't thought about that actually, but it might be prudent to put a tripod thread on it as well. Because then, you know, if you're using it in a non-standard application, aka not on a monitor, you can then mount it that way instead of like have it dangling or something. Might have to think about that. But yeah. And then yeah, it's still light sensor based, so you know, in the basic operation, in the same way that the response time tool works, when you push the button, that sends a signal to the desktop app, which will ideally be running my DirectX code. That will change the screen to white, and then the light will get registered on that light sensor, and then it does the magic of processing. It's actually not that magic, you're just looking like it's a flat line of data, and then it goes whoop as it turns white, and so you just count how long it takes to do that. So yeah. Blimey, you're a bit of a whiz kid with electronic stuff, Andy. Well, I mean, I have been doing it for what you call it, 2.5 years at this point. So a fair while. And I took A-level electronics and got an A in it, so. Although, not that I remember any of that. I remember Ohm's law, and that's about it. Joe, that's clever stuff. Surgical and medical are the areas you want super accurate, super responsive latency. Indeed. Have you asked for movie credits? Not yet. Once I sell them one of these and you know, get it working for them in their Unreal Engine builds, maybe. Hello, Dylan. By the way, I saw my mate's computer was running MBR instead of GPT partition on his new system. Isn't that bad? I don't think so. I think it's fine. If Windows let him install that, then it's probably fine. I hope that I could test wireless headsets, audio devices with a mic trigger. I imagine with a source enough SPL could trigger your device's microphone input. Yes. I'm not sure. So the thing I would be confused about testing headsets is that this is a light sensor. Like essentially, this is a light sensor that you can trigger in different ways. So I'm not sure how you'd be measuring latency with like headphones or something. Like, you know, you can stick a lav mic in an ear cup or whatever, and then have it play a loud noise, and that loud noise triggers the light set, like triggers this to start recording. But I'm not sure what sort of latency you would be measuring from an audio source. Yeah. Might the mount be mostly not needed? Sell as an add-on, 3D printed adapter holder to go with it. Also a good idea. I guess I could probably just do it as a because the case is in 2 parts. So it would be possible to I already have the option to buy a response time tool with no USB cable, with a USB cable, with black elastic, or with white elastic. So, you know, I can have these manufactured with a space for a threaded insert, and then you just pop a threaded insert in. I'm not sure. I'll have to think about it. I've only literally just started thinking about it, and I normally take a while to come to any decisions, so... Bought myself another Logitech K400 from Argos for 20 quid because it was cheaper than a replacement receiver in W-Key. Fair enough. The K400 is... In fact, actually, it's in reach this time. Aha! Yes, yeah, it is. One of these. Here's one I made earlier. Oh dear. Actually had a good day, managed to install a BIOS update without any problems. Nice, congrats! I know that I'm not spoiled is not the right word, but I'm quite used to installing BIOS updates without much difficulty, so fair. Isn't MBR just limited to 4 partitions in its partition table? Need to use legacy mode in UEFI, unlimited partition size but large enough. The limited partition size shouldn't matter because like any drive that you install and set up that doesn't have Windows on it will be set up as MBR. So like the 4TB Sabrent Rocket that I have is set up MBR because it doesn't have an operating system on it. Or am I getting that the wrong way around actually? I don't remember. I don't take my advice. Never really took into consideration determining factors such as lead or LED quality, connection quality, processing hardware limitations against latency, published figures. Well, so honestly, the biggest thing in terms of come on, brain, like published figures like by manufacturers for anything is how did they measure that? Response times is a really funny one because I've been testing response times for like 2 years now, and none of them have been truthful. But yeah, basically, you know, if they are quoting a figure, like if a manufacturer is quoting a figure that is not a hard and fast, like a monitor's resolution, they're not gonna fake. Like, they're not gonna claim it's 4K when it's actually, you know, 10 pixels less or something stupid. It's going to be a 4K monitor. If it runs at 144 Hz, it runs at 144 Hz. But if it's a measurement of something, like response times or latency or anything like that, those are the things that they fudge. Those are the things that, oh, well, we could use this older, like, measurement technique that basically cuts off most of the transition, and oh, well, look at what a surprise, we've got anything, you know, it's a 1 millisecond monitor. Or nowadays they're just not, they don't claim the greater measurement most of the time, they just claim 1 millisecond because they have a backlight strobing mode that turns the fucking backlight off for all but 1 millisecond of a frame, and therefore 1 millisecond monitor. Yeah. I'm side grading from a 3070, a mine card, to a new 6700 XT. It's costing me 40 quid, I assume. But it's the price of peace of mind. Nice. Fair play. Both good cards. A brand new one should be a bit more reliable. And 40 quid isn't exactly an overly costly thing. Oh, I wish I had a brain. Took delivery of 20 86-inch touchscreen monitors today. Took a while. Nice. Nice. Is that not just, like, a whiteboard? Are they going to a school? But yes, 20 86-inch monitors. I could plaster every wall in the house. John, I have to assume that that's for his work. All my drives are MBR apart from OS drive. GPT should be default for UEFI. Yeah. I can't remember. My memory's failing me. New OSRTT click function only $9.99 a month. What, it's because I was fidgeting with it, or am I missing the joke? But also no to subscription models for hardware. But also, great fidget toy. Are they those interactive whiteboards that just started coming in as I was leaving school? Well, and in the interactive whiteboards that I had also kind of slowly introduced as I was in and then leaving school were still the like projector boards. So it was a projector board with a resistive touchscreeny type thing that you could draw on. Whereas those are actual like monitors that have touchscreens on top, so there's no projector needed. It is the display. Yep, for classrooms, whiteboard, but 4K. Not bad. How much does one of those set you back? I have to assume it's a couple grand each. Oh no, the Andy gets bought out by EA alternate reality. There were smart boards before that were a projector, and then sensor layer connected via USB to PC. Yeah. They must have some tough glass on the front, as some kids can be a tad heavy-handed. You got to draw on the whiteboard? We didn't. Although I did go to possibly the worst school in my area. Look, they had guns under the stairs, alright? That was enough for me. By guns, I mean like actual British Army L98, A1 and A2 rifles, because we had cadets. Specifically a combined cadet force. No, it wasn't in Glasgow, sadly. Government contract, so 3 grand cost gets charged as 19k each. Yeah, probably. Gotta love privatisation. I'm from Edinburgh, mate. Ah. Posh boy. Yeah, no. From Glasgow, but didn't do much of my growing up there, unfortunately. Now at work we have all the whiteboards we could want. Nice. Those aspirational dreams of growing up and having whiteboards. I'm so tempted to get a Pixel 7. I've heard good things. Although, am I right in saying that the Pixels still have bad battery life? I don't review phones, so this would be like 8th hand information at best. education specialist, aka Uncle Bob, that is the tech savvy guy from the group that can wire a plug and set up a PC. Yeah. They aren't the best for battery, but they can be had for £300 after a broken phone trade-in and selling the free Google Buds to CX. Fair. That's not bad. That is not bad at all. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, the thing that I've been reviewing today, and I'm going to be filming and finishing tomorrow, is a monitor review, and so the company Pixio, in fact, emailed me a couple of weeks ago now and said, would you do a review of one of our monitors? And I said, yeah, sure. And they said, we have some conditions. I said, okay, I'm listening. And then they said, we want you to give us an honest review. That was pretty much the only condition. And I said, yeah, sure, send it over. We had a slight miscommunication and they sent me one that I was fine with them sending me, but not the one I thought I was asking for. And so I now have the one I actually was asking for on the way, but I'm doing the first one first because that's the one I got. And oh boy, it's an honest review. Oh dear. Yeah, it's a 1440p 100Hz IPS monitor, and you'd think that 100Hz that would be, you know, not the worst. The best thing I have to say about it is the monitor, the I/O is labeled really nicely, and I think that more monitors should come like that with those labels. Oh dear. I'm really bad at being a shill because every time a company like contacts me, I have a bad habit of burning the bridge before they can finish sending me stuff. Was it Logitech emailed me today for the first time in 5 years, by the way. I haven't reviewed like, besides stuff that I've bought, I haven't reviewed a Logitech product in like 5 years, because they keep changing PR agencies, and after like 2 PR agency changes in like 6 months, you kind of lose track of who you're meant to be talking to, and then they change again just as you find out who the person is, and then you just give up. So I have they're offering me the G Cloud, their like handheld, like gaming stream device thing, and they wanted to have a voice call to talk, like explain the thing to me. I'm relatively confident about what it's about and whatnot, so I'm not too bothered. And also I'm really bad on like on these live streams. It's kind of a one-way communication, so I'm just talking at you for about an hour, and I'm reading your comments and replying to them, but I'm just kind of rattling away. When I have to like listen to what people have said, process it, and then like, especially what people have verbally said, like written down, I can read the words, I can take a few seconds to like understand what you've actually written and then formulate an answer. But when it's speech, I just don't process stuff right, and so I really don't like video calls. They just don't work out for anybody. So I said, could you just like tell me what you want in an email, please? Because I'm autistic and I don't like video calls. So yeah, hopefully I will hear back from them, because so far I haven't. I've done a few completely honest reviews, and all of a sudden the company didn't want to work with me anymore. Yeah, funny that. Do you get to keep the kit? I want a 360Hz 1440p is endgame for me at the moment, the I/O being the highlight. The I/O being the highlight. So those Pixio monitors in particular, I think I am keeping, especially because they're shipping from the USA, because Pixio is mostly an American brand. You can buy some of the monitors over here, and I think if you were to buy their monitors on their website, they would happily ship them to you here. I mean, they ship them to me here, so why not? Yeah, that's the gist. And I had something else to say, but it's gone. Oh, do you get to keep the kit? So those Pixio monitors, I think so, yes. For most other things, like most other monitors and whatnot, generally no. There's a reason why you basically only ever see me use a what do you call it? Gigabyte M32Q in videos. Like if I've got a monitor that isn't one that I'm reviewing, I'm using a Gigabyte M32Q. That's because Gigabyte have left it with me for like 6 months, and so that's what I use for everything. Have you any idea why PR people are changing their jobs so fast? So it's not necessarily that the PR people are changing their jobs, although they also are. I'll come back to that one. The problem with not knowing who to talk to is mostly a problem with companies that use agencies. So really, really big companies like Logitech, people like ASUS, who else? I can't be able to think more, but big companies like them often use PR agencies to do the work for them. But the dynamic with PR agencies is quite a weird one, where they normally the company itself, like someone like ASUS or Logitech, often doesn't give the PR agency like total autonomy, like here are our goals, go hit them. It's, oh, we've got to go check with the brand about this. We've got to, we have weekly calls with the brand where we spend the whole week teeing things up and potentially getting things started, and then we go to talk to the brand and ask if they want to do any of these things. And then what happens is, especially with someone like ASUS, who chops and changes PR agencies every like 3 to 6 months, is they don't get the results they want. They go, it must be the PR agency's fault, and they pick another PR agency. And in theory, the PR agency should like hand off between each other. So like, the PR agencies keep lists of all of the like reviewers and stuff that they've worked with, who they've sent all the stuff to, and then in theory that list should just get transferred over to the new agency, and then the new agency should be able to email all those people and keep up everything working with no problems. In reality, those lists often get pruned. They get just the people who have stuff currently that's on loan, and then everyone else who doesn't currently have stuff at the time of that transfer just doesn't get transferred over. So yeah, that's mostly what happens, and that's mostly why you end up not knowing who to talk to. There are some like internal positions that do chop and change every 6 months as well, because the pressure that especially larger companies tend to put on their various PR people, basically, quite a lot. Yeah. Could that be why so many YouTube channels get got every now and again? PR firms keep being juggled. What do you mean get got? I can't process that. Does the PR agency create / customize the sponsorship contract? Yeah, well, it depends. Depends what agency and whatnot. A lot of agencies will, like, some companies do give their agencies a lot more autonomy. So they might, like, the PR agency might come up with some campaign or something, and then go to the brand and pitch them that campaign idea. And then the brand says, yes, do it. and then the agency then just goes and contacts all the creators they want, and then they go and handle it. Sometimes they then have another step where they go and contact all the creators who they think might be interested, and then they get the yeses from everybody and that who are interested, and then they take all those yeses and go back to the actual company and be like, hey, so these are the people who've said yes, this is how much money they want each, which comes to a total of this, and then blah 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 blah, and then the company approves it, and then the agency comes back to you. But basically it ends up being a lot of middlemen stuff. Can you please do a collab with Tech Yes City? I don't think I've ever actually met him. Maybe I have once, actually. Maybe in Taipei? It would help if I've actually met him, which would be a good sign. Like MSI letting their agency bribe YouTubies. So that wasn't an agency, that was MSI, actual. And then they hired an agency to try and help fix their mistakes. Just having breakfast, back to monitors. I got an Asus 360Hz 1440p to review, and they still haven't asked for it back, so it's just hanging around on my gaming desk being tested. Nice. If you want to talk used hardware, don't worry about Tech Yes, just ask me. Tech Yes City is the Antipodean from Dan Anda. Like Simon. How about a collab with Simon instead? I think so, yes. And Chris going back to flat 100 so odd. Yes, it is. They pitched the monitor to me as great for Steam Deck users because it has a USB-C input, and that USB-C input will also offer 65 watt USB PD charging. So it charges the Steam Deck more than enough, which is really cool. Unfortunately, the monitor doesn't have any USB ports on it. It has the USB-C port, but it doesn't have any USB-A ports as part of a hub, which means that once you plug in the display cable, you have to use the Steam Deck as the controller input, or use a Bluetooth controller instead, which, not great for latency. So, it would be nice to be able to plug in things like a mouse and keyboard. Because then if not, then you need to use a USB hub, but if you're using a USB hub, then you may as well just use the HDMI output. Amazing thought process. Indeed. What else have I been doing? I have some stuff from Sabrent on the way eventually. It's been 2 months since I request this stuff. It's a 1TB micro SD card, their Steam Deck dock, and another USB-C hub. So I want to do a video about the Steam Deck and USB-C hubs, and then I want to do, because I have a 1TB SSD in my Steam Deck already, I'm going to use the 1TB micro SD and do a bit of a comparison, see how much slower is a micro SD card, how much what the balance of what's worth it or not, and yeah, see how that goes. Does someone have an idea how to remote control a Samsung TV like TeamViewer? You can get IR blasters that are programmable. So I think you could basically have a Raspberry Pi pointed at the front ETV with an IR blaster, even an attachment. How you could even just do it with an infrared LED, to be honest. And then you can send commands to the... No? Okay. But you can. Very remote. Yes, like, then the Raspberry Pi is connected to the internet, and then you can just send commands from the Pi to the TV. Jesus Christ, my auntie got charged £795 for an oil change at the Nissan dealership yesterday. She paid for it because they convinced her it was a good price. For an oil change! For an oil change! Yeah, what? Was it a GTR that she took for a service? Because if it was a GTR, that's still quite a lot. But I would understand. Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, did they do anything else? Like, that should be valve cover gaskets and, like, you know, the works. Jesus Christ. I've had 3 cars that cost under £795 each. Yeah, when I sold my Volvo, it was what was it, £1,600 I sold it for, so I mean double that, but still. It's a Nissan Juke, ugly ass thing. Oh. Why? Why the Duke? Why not a normal car? I'm looking forward to the day when SUVs are seen as old people cars and no one buys them. A fine for buying one. Yes, I agree. For driving a Duke, yeah. The thing is that the dealerships do charge ridiculous prices. Like the most recent video on the At the Wheel channel was my friend has a relatively new Peugeot 308, and he's been taking it to the dealership for servicing since he bought it, basically, which is ridiculous because they charge £440 for a major service, aka 3 spark plugs, an air filter, an oil filter, a sump plug, and like 4 litres of oil or whatever it is. £440. So when he was last in for the service, they noticed that his near side front brake disc was like scored to hell and needed replacing. They wanted £432 for that. So we said, lol, no. I think we bought the parts for about 180. If we'd planned it better, then it would have been even less, but whatever. And did that up the end over there. And yeah, it was free labor. Also, his Peugeot's wheel studs are horrendous. Like, the wheel bolts for the locking wheel bolt is ridiculous. They just press the locking section onto a shaft with, like, the tiniest splines. So when you put any amount of torque through it, it just shears the locking head off. Like, what? Now, luckily I had bolt extractors and we went and bought some replacement normal bolts. But, yeah. So, yeah. Surely a 2.5-year-old car shouldn't need an oil change yet, though. She's only had about 2,000 miles on the bloody thing. Well, 2.5-year-old car, yeah, you should probably get a get it like oil changed. The mileage is obviously very low, and so it's not that big a deal, but the oil degrades over time anyway, so yeah. And yeah, get a service plan. That might be a decent option. I take mine to Audi and pay like 200 quid. That still seems like a lot, because I do my oil change with 7 liters of oil for like, what is it? I think I pay about 60 to 70 pounds for liqui moly, like fancy oil. A tenner for the filter. I've got a pack of sump washers that I bought for 5 or 3 years ago, and you know, it takes me half an hour. So it cost me under 100 quid to do it myself. That's major service, includes minor oil change too. Okay, fine. $212 for a full service on my Volvo. I guess, well, I suppose you'd have spark plugs, but you know, for petrol, like for mine, if I replace my spark plugs, they're like 20 or 30 quid each, so I've got 6 of them. And it's quite a labor intensive process to get those fuckers out, so yeah. I have a question. Are those triangles on the wall soundproofing? Those are not. Those are insulation. They don't really work, but they're they looked cool when I had them, and I have no reason to take them down. Also, this house is not insulated at all, so in the winter it cost me a lot of money. So she should realistically have been paying around £200-ish for the dealership garage oil change. Can't wrap my head around why they're charging nearly 800. Honestly, that's the sort of thing that I would like. I would take that invoice and like go to the dealership and have them explain why they charged her that much and request a like refund, because that sounds predatory to me. I meant the RGB ones. No, those are Nanoleafs. Those are definitely not sound insulating. Yeah, you think I should go in for her and speak to them? I would think so. Yeah, like if she's like, I would, if you can go and get go and get her copy of the invoice that they gave her when she paid the money. See what is, it should be itemized. But you know, if they charged her £300 for the oil and then £500 for the labor to do an oil change in a Nissan Juke, yeah, I would go kick up a fuss, because that's ridiculous. Especially if it was just an oil change, that should be 100, maybe 150. Realistically, 200 at an absolute push, but that's getting into like they're servicing, like they're changing the oil filter, they're changing the air filters, they're changing the cabin filter, they're changing the spark plugs, you know, all this sort of stuff. You just take the used oil and filter to the dump, and is there somewhere to put it, like a dedicated skip bin? Yes, it is. What do you call it? Come on, brain. My local skip, at least, and actually for all that every time that I've gone to various tips, yeah, there's a specific tank that you just pour it all into. You just pour it all into the container that you, like, because you normally, you know, fill what you took out, so you just pour it into the new container once it's empty. Take that to the tip and dump it all out, and then there's normally a bin or a bucket or whatever to put the plastic canisters in, to recycle those when you're there. Hello, I've noticed you do your response time testing with RGB 5 tolerance. A different review used RGB 10 average initial times doubled. Is the margin of 10 reliable nowadays, or can it be visible to the eye? So I myself, Tim from Hardware Unboxed and Simon from TFT Central spent quite a lot of time debating the various pros and cons of the different testing methodologies. Myself and Simon settled on a fixed RGB tolerance, whereas Tim from Harbour Box prefers a 3% tolerance, depending on the size of the transition. There are pros and cons to both. I won't bother, explaining. But long story short, the reason that I use RGB5 is that for me, if an RGB5 tolerance is not visible, anything like once you get to RGB10, I can see a difference in that. And so if I consider a visible difference, the point at which I say anything above the already visible tolerance is overshoots, that feels a little too lenient for me. I prefer RGB5 because that is a still invisible tolerance for me, and therefore anything above that just slightly invisible tolerance is inherently therefore visible and therefore counts as overshoot. But Simon from TST Central does RGB10, and there's nothing wrong with using, say, a percentage instead, especially if it's a low percentage like 3%, like Tim from Harbour Box uses. 10%, and especially 10% of the light level, is ridiculous. It's the original VESA standard. It's absolutely hopeless. You're cutting off most of the transition, so you're basically not measuring anything. So, yeah. That is my opinion. I'm talking about that while holding, in this case, a latency tool, but the response time tool is just here too. That's the Pro anyway. John, I don't know if I actually finished saying it. Those are the Nanoleafs. They're just there for pizzazz. They don't have any sound or heat insulating properties, unfortunately. I've no idea why, but the eBay app refuses to send my me notifications. Missed out on a few good Ubiquiti AP deals this week, and it's starting to annoy me. Understandable. I also kind of want a Ubiquiti AP. With that said, I think I'm going to leave it there. That is our usual hour anyway, so I hope you all had a good time watching me ramble. I hope you all have a great week. These are every Thursday night at 8 PM UK time, so you want to pop back next week, feel free. And yeah, that's kind of it really. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you all tomorrow for a video, Monday for a video, next week for a stream. Bye.